And the fact that socialist candidates in the Midwest, whether we're talking about Michigan or Wisconsin, may be headed for victory in primaries there, it shows the E word, establishment. They may now be becoming another E word, as in extinct.
And finally, an immigration reduction advocate says Congress has its lowest grades ever on its scorecard on border enforcement.
Jeremy Beck is co-president of Numbers USA, which regularly gives grades to members of Congress and candidates on their positions on border enforcement. He says the current grade cards have 26 Republican House members with an F or F- score in the category of stopping amnesty. An additional 36 House members have a D or D- amnesty grade. Beck says on average these current grades are the worst ever.
The average grade of this Congress is somewhere in the D range. And to put that into perspective, for most of the years we've been doing these grade cards since 1994, for most of the years, the average grade of Congress was in the C range. This Congress is in the D range, and at the moment, basically the average grade of this Congress is at its lowest level since we began doing grade cards in the mid-1990s.
Beck says this tells us a couple of things.
One, the Democratic Party has gotten a lot worse on this issue from our vantage point. They basically are encouraging future surges of illegal immigration while trying to lock in place the past surges of illegal immigration. At the same time, the Republican Party, you have a lot of real champions, but you got 27 members of the Republican Party in the House and Senate who fail the amnesty test.
I'm Chad Groening.
There's more news available online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
The mission of AFA is to inform, equip, and activate individuals and families to strengthen the moral foundations of American culture and to give aid to the church here and abroad in its task in fulfilling the Great Commission. The vision of American Family Association is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training in the interest of cultural transformation.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association as we seek to stop the erosion of godly values.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. And today's Thursday, July the 23rd, 2026. In studio with me is Fred Jackson. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning to you, Tim.
Chris Woodward.
Hello.
And in Florida is Ray Pritchard. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Tim. How you doing today?
Doing well. How's everything down in?
Oh, it's peachy keen here in Florida. Sunny, blue skies, 88. It only feels like 102. So we're doing great.
That's great. Well, I know that we've had some weather, Fred, hit the Gulf Coast, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana.
Tropical storm Bertha made landfall in Louisiana yesterday, and now it's moving along the Texas coast. Fortunately, we're thankful for this, thank the Lord for this, that the rainfall levels did not meet expectation.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. But that doesn't mean because of the surge, there hasn't been some serious flooding along those low-lying areas, especially in Louisiana, New Orleans area, that sort of thing. So there's been some flooding there. But, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, no loss of life.
Not so far.
Not so far. So we're thankful for that.
Isn't it decimated? I say decimated. That's not the right word. What happened? Hasn't the storm gone away? By now, is it still tracking?
It's still tracking. It will probably be a depression at some point as it continues to move, across the land. But the storm made landfall in the St. Bernard Parish, about 40 miles east of New Orleans. And as Fred mentioned, it's in Texas. Now, it is expected to dissipate as it moves further inland by tomorrow.
Well, after you go through hurricanes, I guess something like this,
Yeah, yep, for sure.
You don't even, close the windows.
Yeah.
Probably. Anyway, well, that's good. That's good news that it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on AFR. By the way, next hour we're hoping, and the plan is, to have Ambassador Mike Huckabee on our show, the U.S. ambassador to the nation of Israel. Mm-hmm. He's scheduled for 1 hour from now, 11:05 Central Time, right? He's in Israel, I guess. Yes, so anyway, he's said he'll be on with us. His people did, and our people said good. You need your people to call our people. All right, so that's coming up. Ray, give us a good word from the Bible this morning, if you would.
Well, today in our Bible reading together, Marlene and I were in Romans 14, one of the more interesting chapters of the New Testament, where Paul starts out by saying that different people inside the church, we have different opinions and different views. And Paul says, for one person has faith to eat all things, while another who is weak eats only vegetables. And it sounds like, with an introduction like that Paul intends to give some dietary instructions to the church at Rome, but that's really not what he's going to talk about later. He talks, some people drink wine, some people don't drink wine, some people eat meat offered to idols, some people don't. And he's just talking about the range of opinions inside any Christian church. And the point he wants to make is a good one, which is that each one of us will stand before the Lord individually. Fred, I'm not going to answer for you. You can be happy you're not going to answer for me. We're not going to answer for Tim, nor Tim answer for us, or Chris, you're not going to have to answer for any of the rest of us.
Thank goodness.
That's the good news. The bad news is, if you want to say it that way, each one of us will stand before the Lord. And I say that's bad news only in this sense, that I ought to take a look at the man in the mirror, and I ought to be concerned that I am ready when someday I do stand before the judgment seat of Christ, not because I'm afraid the Lord is going to send me to hell, not because of that, but he's going to look at me, and some of the stuff that I thought was gold and silver and precious stones, it's just going to evaporate in front of me. Stuff I thought was so important, it's just wood, hay, and stubble. I ought to be so concerned about that I ought to look at Fred, I ought to look at Tim, I ought to look at Chris, I ought to look at all my brothers and sisters and say, I love you, but I got my hands full taking care of the man in the mirror. And Paul goes so far as to say, when you get later down in the chapter, he talks about pursuing peace with one another and live at peace with one another. But verse 22 of Romans 14, keep your belief about such matters between yourself and God. A long, long time ago, I had a friend who led a Christian ministry of people with a lot of different personalities. And I said, how do you keep everything straight with all these, let's say, big personalities in your ministry? And he said, well, we got a rule. And our rule is, we just say, feel free to have no opinion about that. If it doesn't involve you, feel free to have no opinion about that. That really, Marlene said, you could write that over all of Romans 14. Feel free to have no opinion about secondary issues involving other Christians, because one day, guys, we're going to stand before the Lord. If I focus on taking care of myself, I'm not going to have too much time to criticize other brothers and sisters who themselves will one day answer to the Lord. So let's get ready to stand before the Lord, and let's feel free to have no opinion about what other people say and do. At least I think that's a good principle for living the Christian life today.
Yeah, Dr. David Jeremiah on this program here on American Family Radio was dealing with this, the Bema Seat Judgment, it's called, for Christians. And he said the purpose of the Bema Seat Judgment is not to judge us for our sins, because when we accepted Christ, we accepted Christ's righteousness over us. But we are going to give an account for our time that we spent, the talents that God gave us, how did we use those? So like you say, Ray, it's going to be very individual. God knows every individual. He knows what talents, what abilities, what opportunities that we have been given in this life. And that's what we'll give an account for.
Well, why are we giving an account when he knows it all anyway, though?
Well, we're going to have to answer, why didn't you? Why didn't you? But
what if we don't have an answer?
Well, If we don't, well, God knows the answer. That's the thing. But the other thing that's going to happen, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, is that we're going to be given awards with regards to how faithful we were. So what golden street that you're going to live on, I don't know whether it's that, but that's what the purpose of that is. And as you say, some wood, hay, and stubble, some of the things that we spend a lot of time on, not really. That wasn't God's intent.
All right, you're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. Tim, Fred, and Chris, and Ray. Chris, what is your first news story? And we're going to hold you accountable.
Okay, all right.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, we're coming off the 12th night in a row of really hard attacks on Iran. President Trump has said we are going to go after roads and bridges and power plants in Iran if they continue to attack commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. We have some audio of him talking about this yesterday when the president went to Georgia. He spoke in the Atlanta area. Clip 3.
They're getting hit so hard, and they want to make a deal. But I say they're not ready to make a deal. Because every time they make a deal, they want to change it and everything. They're not ready. They'll be ready very soon. And this is despite this. It's going on.
I think we played that clip last week. 10 days ago.
We played it in April.
Right.
And we
As
played
a matter of fact,
clip.
clip 12.
And we played it in June. Nobody, that's no credibility in those words anymore.
No.
I mean, Am I right?
No.
So, like I said, I wish President Trump would just stop talking about it. It'd probably be better just to stop talking about it because
he is losing people, including his, if you believe polls and what news outlets claim polls say, he is losing even people in the MAGA Republican movement over the war.
I know people who are strong supporters of President Trump, but he's lost them on this one because of the credibility.
We talked yesterday about how Speaker Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, he's MAGA.
Right. He said, wrap it up. Time to wrap it up.
Time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're ramping it up. All right. Not that we know the answer to this, Ray, but let's talk about it for just a moment because this is I know we're all tired of hearing about it, talking about it, but this is a big deal, folks. Oil just went to 90 or 100.
$100 a barrel.
So gasoline's about to go up. Now, listen. Let me go on record as saying this. I was in, and I think most people who generally support President Trump were in support of the initial attacks to go after their nuclear weapon capabilities.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Last year. Well, also earlier this year, we were told, right?
Yeah.
But when you go, if that shouldn't take long. Okay. After that, if you just want to get into a tit for tat war, which that seems like what we're into, I think your support drops way down for that because you can't see where the off ramp is, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And what does victory look like? We're not being told. So I think this has gotten into, well, it seems personal, right? It seems like, they hit us and then, Trump says, well, by gosh, I'll hit them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we get into that and it's like, okay, back off and say, what's the point of this? What are we here for? Can we even accomplish objectives? What are the objectives? Because I haven't heard those stated recently.
Yeah,
go ahead.
There's not going to be regime change.
No, forget that.
Yeah, forget that. Just wipe that board clean. There seems to be a focus now on access through the Strait of Hormuz to get oil out of the Persian Gulf nations like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, those countries on that western border of the Persian Gulf. But there's a new front to talk about this morning. Because what happened last night is that 2 Saudi tankers tried to make it through the Red Sea.
Oil tankers,
and they were hit by the Houthis.
Who are they?
The Houthis. I got a map up in front of us, and
this is great, folks. We got a new player on the field here.
Player.
Go ahead.
They control a chunk of land. The Houthi rebels, which are backed by Iran, just like Hezbollah and Hamas, they basically have a big chunk of land in the western part of Yemen. All right.
Yemen borders Saudi Arabia.
That is right. So
Okay.
they have a big chunk of land, and they have about 100 miles. They control 100 miles of the coast on the Red Sea. So, and they have the same weapons that Iran has. They have missiles. And so these two Saudi tankers came under attack last night. There's actually some video that I was looking at this morning. So you have that and why is that important? Because some of these nations, like the Saudis, have talked about, well, if we can't use the Strait of Hormuz, we'll open up and start delivering our oil by way of the Red Sea, Suez Canal, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the Houthis are saying, no, we're not going to make that easy for you at all. So you have that. And that's given rise to talk about, okay, Iraq, we're going to build pipelines through Syria and Turkey and get our oil out through the Mediterranean. The Saudis have talked about building a pipeline all the way to the Red Sea, I assume to their port city of Jeddah that's on the Red Sea. So you've got all of this going on. Isn't it amazing how much this is really about oil? When it comes down to it, we've kind of bypassed for now, the nuclear weapons of Iran. It comes down to oil. Because oil drives the economy, the price of oil.
Okay. So question to you, and then Ray can comment. Do you think gas at the pump in the U.S. is going, on average, do you think it's going to go to $4?
Oh, no question.
It already has.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already there.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
It's $4.09 today.
Yeah.
Are you seeing it in the Tampa area?
Absolutely. Well, between Tuesday and Thursday, it's already gone up about 5 or 6 or 7 cents a gallon. Just in our area since we were on the air on Tuesday. Because this deal with the Red Sea, Fred, this is a bad thing. Mm-hmm. We've opened up a second front. Look, I'm all for building these pipelines, but you can't build a major pipeline going hundreds of miles. You can't do that in a week or a month. That takes many months to do that. And by the way, do you pronounce them the Houthis? Is that
Houthi? Houthi.
Yeah.
Houthi. I think it's
it's not the blowfish. It's just the Houthis. Yeah.
Just to clarify, that was my joke, Chris.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Give credit where credit's due. Okay. So just real quick, those people know the Houthis. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
They are like Hamas and Hezbollah, okay, just so people know who they are. And they're not new on the scene. They've been around for a while. They're just in a different geographic place, which is Yemen. But they're stationed along is it the Red Sea?
The Red Sea, correct.
So you're saying that, and they're aligned with Iran?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they fired at the oil tankers.
2 Saudi oil tankers.
Okay. Well, would that not mean potentially that Saudi Arabia starts getting into a military fight with them, or have they already been in a fight with them? Do you know?
That has been another aspect of this war. Iran has been shooting at our U.S. military bases that we have in places like Kuwait and places like Saudi Arabia.
Right.
There are calls amongst the talking heads on television for Saudi Arabia to step up its efforts and get more involved in this particular escalation. I have some audio if you want it.
Of who?
This is foreign policy expert Rebecca Heinrichs of the Hudson Institute. She was on Fox today saying the Saudis need to step it up and get behind us and others.
How long is that?
40 seconds.
40 seconds. All right, go ahead.
Clip 5.
The Saudis have still tried to stay out of this war for the most part. They've allowed the United States to operate out of some of their basing, and so that has been good. But remember, there was even that hiccup where the Saudis got very nervous when the United States was conducting more muscular operations in Project Freedom. And when the Iranians began to fire against Gulf states again, the Saudis got cold feet and said, listen, the United States, if you're not going to go more aggressively against Iran, we don't want you to take more muscular actions because the Iranians are going to retaliate against us. We're back at it. But again, the Saudis have not been entirely good allies and partners with the United States on this. And so the Saudis really need to get some courage here.
All right. Well, you're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. And again, as we've said before, this is going to go ahead, Chris.
I make you a promise.
You can promise me.
Write this down.
All right.
I will not mention Iran tomorrow on this show.
You heard it, folks. Why? Because you're not going to be on. Oh, I see what you did there, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow's Trivia Friday, so Chris won't be on the show, so he won't be mentioning Iran.
Could just ride with it.
Yeah, I got it. I got you, Chris.
Either way, I'm right.
Listen, this is an extremely serious situation for the world and for our country. The economic impact, as we mentioned before, it basically is the price of gas at the pump is going to go up significantly, and then that means the price of products will go up. And so President Trump needs to find a way to get out of this situation.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be man. Now a lot of people on a lot of people who are considered hawks, and we would be aligned with them philosophically on most issues. Certainly supporting our military, but there's no end in sight to this, and I don't know what the objective is. And if people aren't clearly stated an objective, I'm talking about the American people, especially people who support President Trump, they're going to lose faith.
Yes.
In this, and that's I had hoped that this would be wrapped up by Memorial Day, and here we are in the middle of July.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to be. President Trump doesn't come out and say, "Okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and then we're gone, then we're out. And if we can't do this and this, we're leaving."
Yeah.
And so there's nothing like that. He just says they're ready to make a deal, and then he says not so quick, and then he's just all over the map, and there's no leadership there.
Yeah.
That people can trust.
Tim, it may be another way of looking at this is to say that you simply cannot, and underline this, cannot trust the Iranians. You cannot trust them. They lie, they deceive, they say one thing, they do another. They are driven, the mullahs over there, they are driven by an apocalyptic ideology that I think prevents them from making any kind of, quote, peace deal with, quote, the great Satan. They still, remember, these are the people who still want to drive Israel off the face of the earth.
Yeah, they're not. These people are all in. They are fully committed, and as Ray said, they have an apocalyptic, not a biblical apocalyptic, but a
end of the world,
end of the world Muslim Shia ideology or theology, and that they are following, and so that's why it's not a traditional situation where you say, You're fighting somebody who cares about their people and their land and the money and their economy and whatever. You're not dealing with. Marco Rubio said it the other day. We're dealing with crazy people.
Yeah.
From a Western point of view, we're dealing with crazy people. So we'll see.
So how do you make peace with crazy people?
I know.
How do you look? You remember a few weeks ago, all that back and forth about the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, which turned out to be not worth the paper it was printed on. I do not blame Marco Rubio, and I do not blame the president or his advisors. This is all on the other side. They didn't mean it. They didn't mean it when they said it. They didn't mean it when they signed it. And I know what you're saying about the president and his leadership, but now what is Mr. Trump supposed to do? Because we're going to keep bombing. We're going to maybe get another peace deal, which will last, 24 hours, and we're back where we are.
There is one more troubling development we haven't
Thank you, Fred.
talked about.
We needed more.
There is a report that we are moving more military personnel into those bases along the Persian Gulf, U.S. bases. We're moving soldiers forward. Remember, we've talked about this, boots on the ground. I heard one Republican senator this morning, it was Rick Scott, I think it was, who said, we're not going to be able to finish this without some boots on the ground. I assume, he didn't expand on that, I'm assuming he is talking about those facilities that we've talked about where that Iran uses to disperse its oil and load its oil on tankers. The Kark Island we're talking about. So,
oh man!
At a time when we hoped we were going to extract ourselves,
right?
Let's get out of this. Let's wrap it up, as Mike Johnson said the other day. If we're going to put boots on the ground at Kark Island to basically control their oil disbursement, the Iran's oil disbursement, we're going to be there for a while.
Yes, and keep in mind that the service members that just recently were killed by Iran, those were boots on the ground, if you will, at U.S. bases in the Middle East.
Yeah.
What would be wrong with just packing up and coming home?
I think a lot of Americans would say that's what I want.
What would be wrong with that? That would be viewed as a win for Iran by the world, right?
Yeah, and the mainstream media would spin it that way, no question.
But
Trump gives up.
But in the end, what's the best thing to do at this point? Not really how it's viewed at the world. This is what concerns me about President Trump. Again, I've appreciated a lot of things that he's done and said, but it worries me that if his ego gets in the way of rational thinking, do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You could say, well, no, he's going to keep firing at them, and again, to what end? Maybe there will be, and hopefully and prayerfully there will be soon, because the longer this thing goes on. All right, we'll be back momentarily.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples to set before the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them all. The area of Tabgha, located between Capernaum and Magdala on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, is a very historic area, for it was here, according to tradition, where Jesus fed the 5,000 men plus additional women and children. Here also he fed the disciples following his resurrection. Tabgha gets its name from the corruption of a Greek word which means 7 springs. At Tabgha in 1932, the ruins of an ancient church were discovered. Today, another structure, known as the Church of the Multiplication, stands over the ruins. The floor of that ancient church, dating at least back to the 4th century, contains mosaics which are renowned throughout the world for their beauty and realism. They depict the water birds and flowers of the area and symbols of the 5 loaves and 2 fish of the miracle. This miracle of Jesus, the feeding of the 5,000, was considered an impressive event by the early church. Incidentally, it is the only miracle mentioned in all 4 Gospels in the New Testament. It is John who tells us of the young boy which Andrew brought to Christ, and how Christ used the lad's 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed the multitude. After the feeding, each disciple filled his basket with the food that was left over. Near the Church of the Multiplication is the Church of the Primacy. It's located on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. It's built on the spot where tradition says Jesus is supposed to have fed Peter and the 6 other disciples after a night of fruitless fishing. The structure is built over a rock which today is known as the Table of Christ. Tradition says it is the rock used by Jesus to eat the morning meal of fish with his followers. It was here that Jesus gave to Peter the 3-fold repetition symbolic of a legal transfer. Feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. Jesus was giving the responsibility of his church to Peter and the others. The Church of the Primacy is a lovely little structure. Waves from the Sea of Galilee splash beneath it. The area around it is lovely and peaceful, a probable contrast from the biblical days when this area was teeming with people and commerce. 2 great truths come out of the events which came to pass in this area. In the case of the multiplication of the loaves and fish, the truth is that little when given to him who is the Creator, can be transformed into a lot. The young boy willing to share the lunch which his mother packed for him found this to be true. The other truth concerns the disciples. They discovered that Jesus can be completely trusted. Following his directions, despite having caught nothing during an entire night of fishing, they cast where he told them and caught 153 fish. We must never forget that they cast their nets in sheer faith. As one stands here in this area, his thoughts are varied, but one wish stands out, that these two great truths can perhaps come alive again in us, even today.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildmon, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hey, we've got some great tours lined up for March of 2027. We've got one tour we call the Footsteps of Paul tour. That's mainly in Greece, or only in Greece, including Athens and Corinth and Thessalonica. And then we've got a separate tour to Italy, where we're going to Venice and Florence and Pisa and Rome and all the sites of Italy. So, you can do both of these tours if you want to. We've arranged that as well. Also, this tour of Italy, it's not like the Olive Garden tour of Italy. You know, we're really going there to Italy to see Italy and to eat Italian food too as well. So for information on any of the tours I've mentioned here, go to tours.afa.net. Tours.afa.net, tours.afa.net.
Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Psalm 107:1.
This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. We're going to have a guest in just a few moments. So Dr. David Rankin will be on with us. He's an economist, a listener to American Family Radio. He is a professor, or has been a professor, at Southern Arkansas University, so we'll talk to him. And Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel, is going to be on with us at the top, 5 after, I think, the top of the hour. That's the plan. You know, when you're the ambassador of Israel, sometimes plans change in just a few minutes.
It's supper time in Jerusalem right now.
Yeah, it is. So Ray Pritchard is with us. Ray's in Florida. Chris, Fred, and yours truly, we're in Mississippi. And we thank you for listening wherever you may be. All right, so let's see. What do we got? We got our guest in studio. We're getting them seated. All right, so Ambassador Huckabee, he's been on the job, a year now?
Yeah, it's been about a year, and what I was going to say, an exciting time, what an interesting time for him. He's
been doing all his ambassadorship from a bunker.
Pretty well. But you know what? He is exactly the type of ambassador the United States needs as such time as this.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic.
Yeah.
He's been just fantastic. He loves the Jewish people, loves Israel.
Yeah.
And a fierce defender.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that.
Ray, do you know Mike?
Only from a distance.
Okay.
And just only by.
I thought your paths may have crossed since you're both Southern Baptist and so forth.
I know, but I love him. He is. Fred, I would say he's probably the best ambassador we've ever had to the nation of Israel.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And to President Trump's credit, remember, presidents through the years, Republicans and Democrats said, we're going to move our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Praise the Lord, President Trump did that.
I got to see that when I went to Israel last year, and let me tell you, Huckabee has really good security. We were standing across the street from the embassy, and somebody in our group took a picture, and a guy comes across the street and says, hey, you got to delete that photo. And we said, we're Americans, and he said, I don't care.
All right, so we'll talk to Mike Huckabee in about 30 minutes or so. Well, in studio with us right now is our guest, father-daughter. First of all, ladies first, Dr. Beth Ann Rankin Baker is in studio with us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
Do you want me to call you Beth Ann Rankin or Baker?
You know what? I have that Southern double name going on.
Yeah,
I
you
always
do.
say I answer to any Southern double
Beth
name.
Ann.
Beth Ann.
Okay.
That's great.
But you are a doctor of what?
At Vanderbilt University, I studied organizational leadership at the
Okay.
Peabody College of Education.
All right.
And so I've been fascinated with just organizational design and organizational landscapes for a long time.
Okay.
And so that was what I pursued my doctorate in.
If you get a doctor from Vanderbilt, you've done something there. So
Way to anchor down.
I congratulate
Anchor down.
you. Yeah, anchor down. So anyway,
you.
so where do you live now?
I live in Magnolia, which is where my father
Okay.
lives. My husband, Dr. Kerry Baker, works at Southern Arkansas University.
Awesome.
He's the dean of students there.
Okay.
And my father
Yeah.
is president emeritus at Southern Arkansas University.
Dr. David Rankin is Beth Ann's dad, and he's in studio with us as well. Good morning, brother.
Good morning. Hey, it's great to be here.
Now, you live in Magnolia,
We live in Magnolia, yes,
Arkansas,
sir.
which is what, an hour south of Little Rock? Where is that?
We're just about 20 miles north of Louisiana, not far from Texarkana.
Oh, okay, okay.
Give you an idea.
I got you. Well, listen, welcome now. How long have you been a professor, or were you a professor of economics there?
Actually, I've been associated with the university right at 56 years. I was president 14 before that, a dean and economics professor.
They got to name something after you then. You've been there that long, huh?
They did.
Some building or give you a statue or something.
They named the College of Business after me.
Did they?
They did.
I was kidding. Congratulations. Let me
No, they
shake your
did.
hand. All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
But you're a listener to American Family Radio,
Yes,
right?
sir. That's where I made my first contact.
Who do you listen to over there?
Well, I'm a pilot, so
You know, we have a show here at 10
I'm
o'clock
driving
every
out
morning.
to the airport on occasion, and I was surfing around the FM
Okay.
stations, ran across Abraham Hamilton III,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very interesting program. So I got to listening to him,
Yeah.
and that was really great. So I thought, well, maybe I ought to think about getting involved with American Family Radio.
Yeah.
So I did, and then ended up having dinner with you guys up in Little Rock, and
Yeah.
that was just a breakthrough for us.
Yeah. Abe's a little subdued for me, for my taste. But, you know, a lot of people like that kind of
Oh, they do.
like that
They
style.
do.
Razzle dazzle.
Yeah, he just, you know. All right, so monotone, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so you've got a book. You're over here in Tupelo. You guys flew over, right?
We did.
You're
We
a
did.
private pilot.
Yes,
You flew over to be with us because you and I are going to record this afternoon a video
that's correct.
on a serious topic, which is it's based on your book, the Economics of Freedom.
Yes, sir.
The Economics of Freedom, because what's going on in our country is a very, in terms of the socialist left and their promotion of communistic ideas, which a lot of Americans, you know, a lot of Americans knew what this was about in the 50s and 60s and the Cold War and everything. But today, the average American, I don't know how much they know about communistic ideas, about the advantages for the world, for freedom and free enterprise and capitalism. So we're going to be talking about that. Let me ask you this. Let's start with the book, The Economics of Freedom in Defense of Capitalism. What is capitalism, if you would? Is that kind of where you start with your book, and where is the basis for that in our country, the U.S.?
Well, it really is. Capitalism is so related to freedom that I think people miss this. They think, okay, capitalism is profits, it's big companies, all of that sort of thing. Capitalism is related to freedom. If we all got stuck on a desert island capitalism would be the first thing we turn to. Someone would say, well, Tim, you might say, well, I'm a good fisherman. I'm going to go catch some fish, and then I'll swap some fish with you guys. And you might say, hey, I brought some seeds. I have some seeds with me. I'm a good gardener. I'm going to plant some vegetables and things, and I'll swap with you. Another gentleman might say, hey, I'll start building houses for you guys, and we'll just swap it around. Capitalism is just the natural order of things. And I always say that socialism cannot exist without a large and coercive government. Capitalism can.
Okay. So trade, swapping, bartering, that's been around. That's what you're talking about.
That's right.
That's what people do. Now, what is the, I know that, Fred, you got something coming. So is that the essence of capitalism? In other words, you're rewarded for your work financially?
Yes. Where work and incentive is so important in capitalism, and work is so important.
But how's that, is that based in the Bible, though?
Well, it really is. I mean, you have questions of the owners of the vineyard. You know, you have in the Old Testament, people owned property. The Ten Commandments says don't steal. Well, if you're just stealing, it would be private property. And there is nothing in the older New Testament that talks about regulating people's lives in terms of the economy. Mm-hmm. It's just an assumption that it's going to be freedom and it's going to be capitalism.
All of what you have just talked about, Dr. Rankin, is the basis when we talk about what has made America great, why so many people want to come over our borders legally and illegally, is because of the opportunities that capitalism provides. So it's very troubling, knowing we were going to have you folks on today. Here's a Fox headline this morning. Don't know if you've seen this. The numbers don't lie. Young Americans are falling in love with socialism. How in the world did we get there?
Oh, that's a great question, and it's absolutely true. All the statistics from Pew Research and others say that at least half of our students believe that favor socialism over capitalism. And it comes about because of all the promises, and people looking at utopia. Well, don't compare the United States with utopia. Compare us with South Korea or North Korea or Cuba or France or Spain to get a proper comparison. We had a discussion about the fact that capitalism has flaws, only because people have flaws. That's why capitalism has flaws. But if you take those same people with flaws and put them in charge of a multi-trillion-dollar government, just think of the kind of flaws you're going to have. And so that's the key. People are falling in love with the promises. It's a feel-good thing. You know, the socialist gets up there and says, hey, we're going to redistribute the income. Everybody's going to be happy. It's all going to be great. But you destroy the economy. And that's been the power of the United States of America. It's been our incentive and our free enterprise system.
Yeah, the basis for the free enterprise is that you're rewarded for your work.
Yes.
And your ingenuity.
Yes.
And your skills that leads to private property rights,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So our founders in the U.S., and you write on this in the book, understood what William Bradford understood at Plymouth Rock. Remember that story? Is that in your book? I don't know if that's in your book.
No, it's not in my book.
But that story, William Bradford, who came over in the Mayflower. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong about my history here, because it's okay. So they set up a commune here, and they said, okay, everybody contribute to the food, you know. And then William Bradford learned, hey, half the people aren't contributing, but they're taking. And so they finally decided, hey, this isn't going to work, so we'll do it on an incentive basis. You work, you eat. You work, you have property, you work, you know what I'm saying? So they've figured out that socialism in the end doesn't work because people become slothful and lazy and they don't carry their weight. I'm thinking broadly and generally here. Obviously, the Bible tells us we need to care for people who can't care for themselves, right? So take care of folks, charity and that kind of thing. But the free enterprise system, my dad used to say, has done the most, is the best economic, the free enterprise system undergirded by Christian principles is the greatest economic system the world has ever known. Thus,
well, and John Adams talked about that. You know, that this constitutional republic is designed for a moral and virtuous people. And so he grounded that on Christian principles.
Right.
And so I see that today, and it is a question of productivity. And in that incentive for productivity, if our especially young people could understand this today, is that you are elevating those goods and services that then contribute to people's quality of life, and not only their quality of life, but generosity throughout the world. And I think that's one reason that people in the United States of America are so generous, because we have an economic system that has empowered that capacity. But again, on the principles, when you go back and you look in history, these principles with those Christian principles that I believe our country was founded upon, that just makes a difference. It's that guiding light, that North Star that keeps things very centered going forward.
All right, we're talking to Dr. David Rankin and Dr. Beth Ann Rankin Baker. They're here in Tupelo with us visiting today. And so David has written a book called The Economics of Freedom in Defense of Capitalism. And Ray, did you have a question?
You know, I was thinking about, as Dr. Rankin, as you were talking about how the appeal to the young people, the promises that are being made, I can see that part of it. Is there another problem here that, okay, I was listening, Beth Ann, to what you were saying, just thinking about all this. I can remember, well, this dates me, 50 plus years ago, when I was coming through junior high school and high school, we had classes, not just on American history, but on civics. We had classes on, well, the principles of free enterprise, the principles of the U.S. Constitution. It seems to me that part of the problem, guys, is that we've got not just a generation, but a couple of generations that have lost, completely disconnected from the principles upon which this nation was based, and that has put us today in 2026 disconnected from our own history. We've got young people who literally do. You say John Adams, unless they saw that miniseries on TV, they probably don't even know who you're talking about. How do we get out of the mess that we're in that way in our country?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I wrote about, Beth Ann and I wrote about, is the Bill of Rights really spells out how important it is to have individual freedom, and how freedom is better than any other approach to life, particularly economic life. And I agree with you. It's like World War II. I can remember studying about Magellan and De Soto and all of that, but when we got to World War II, the year was up, and we never got into it, never studied it. Well, what's more important to us? World War II helped reshape the whole geography of the world, and we have got to start teaching these principles to our children. The American system, it's a republic, it's a democracy, it's a free enterprise capital. We have got to start teaching this in our school systems, and we've got to quit just rolling over and playing dead when we find out that something else is happening in our school systems. And I think that this is part of one of our keys is can we maintain, we're 250 years, this is our big anniversary, 250 years. Can we maintain this for another 250 years? Can we maintain it for another 100 years? We have got to be sure our young people understand the Constitution, particularly the Bill of Rights. They need to look at the Declaration of Independence and understand that. And if we don't do that, this next generation is going to vote us into socialism and maybe worse.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because yesterday, speaking in Georgia, President Trump said the U.S. will never be a communist country. Now, the president often refers to Democrats, socialists, and communists as the same thing. So let's say he's just talking about the whole bunch. And, you know, that's great. People cheered. I agree with him. But he's 80 years old, and he's only in office for 900 some odd more days. So is it upon us to keep that going? And how do we do it? Should parents do this themselves and not rely on schools? Or is that in addition to, like, ask your kid, what are you being told about the economy and stuff at the dinner table?
I think really for the first generation, parents have got to become much more involved in being sure that the patriotic principles that help make this country great are really ensconced in these young people's minds, because it's the truth. The American model is fabulous. It is fabulous. The social model is pretty bad. Communist is awful, brutal, and coercive. And so we have got to do this. I think we also have to exert more power on our school systems. Getting elected to the school board, that's important. Once you get elected to the school board, you can have some impact on this. And I think we've got to be sure our school systems are doing what they need: reading, writing, arithmetic, and some good old-fashioned American patriotism.
You're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. We're talking to Dr. David Rankin and Dr. Beth Ann Rankin Baker, and they're visiting with us today. The book that they've written is called The Economics of Freedom in Defense of Capitalism. And we're talking about this because there is a war going on in America that is going to decide whether we're going to go socialistic, communistic, or stay with capitalism and free enterprise. And let me ask you this, Beth Ann. The appeal from the socialists, I think the reason they're getting some traction is because they say, well, we're the richest country in the world. Then why can't we provide for people like universal health care? Like why do we, guaranteed income for people? If we're the richest, most powerful country in the world, we should be able to provide these things for people. And so that is, and for example, the thou shalt not, help me out with number 10.
Covet.
Covet. Thank you. I was missing the word. I knew what I was, but thou shalt not covet. I think the socialist left, they inject covetousness.
They do.
Into this because, and they justify it. They say, well, the wealthy have this, you should have this too. So all those things combined lead us to, this is a revolution going on with a small r in America, which threatens capitalism and free enterprise, private ownership of land and property. We see in New York, they're talking about basically setting the rates for landlords, what they can charge tenants. I know there are landlord stories that we've all heard. There are people that, don't do the right thing or exploit, but that's their property. And here is the government saying, no, we'll tell you how much you can charge for private property rent. Those kinds of things, that appeals to a lot of people who don't have things.
Well, and that's one reason I think Dad, particularly, he has been carrying this torch for decades. And so to see that we have reached a moment in the United States of America, in our landscape today, where this message has never been more important than it is right now. And that's why we appreciate this opportunity to be able to talk about this topic and empower people. We always say you cannot defend capitalism if you do not understand capitalism. And too many times, individuals who support socialism, they win the war of words because it sounds so good and it has glitter dripping from everything. But if government were the solution, then why hasn't it already been the solution? Why hasn't it already solved all the woes? I always tell people, somehow I made it to the 3rd grade and I learned how to read, write, multiply, add, subtract, and divide, and there was no United States Department of Education. It did not exist until I was in the 4th grade. But somehow in the 3rd grade, I still made it because I had teachers who loved me, and I had administrators who loved our school, and that was a local control. And so I always say, when you have those teachers and they feel empowered to teach, and this is an important message. And so I know when I go into the state legislature in January, I hope to carry that torch and continue to build on what Governor Sarah Sanders is doing in Arkansas right now, is bringing that sense of patriotism back. It was her dad, Governor Mike Huckabee, who was my boss back in the 90s, officiated at my wedding several years ago.
We're about to have him on.
Well, I heard you mention his name a little bit earlier, and Dad was that was when Dad became the governor's advisor.
That's right. He appointed
economic advisor to the governor.
Mike Huckabee did.
Yes, he did.
What, Dad, 1996?
We'll get a job performance review in just a few minutes.
I'm sure he'll.
Okay? You don't mind?
Sir. No, I don't mind.
That'll be great.
Okay. All right. Well, listen.
It's fun.
We're going to be offering the book, in a more official capacity, but I'm holding up the book, which is excellent, by David and Beth Ann Rankin. They call it The Economics of Freedom in Defense of Capitalism. So this is a good primer on why capitalism and the free enterprise system we need to maintain that in America if we want to maintain a strong economic backbone and be the envy of the world. There's a reason why we're the wealthiest country in the world, despite the fact that we're the third largest, right, population-wise, is because of the free enterprise system.
Yes. And the total economy of the United States of America now surpassed 30 trillion. China is right at 20 trillion. And so even though they have about 4 times the population of the United States of America, they have a much smaller economy, and their per capita income in the United States is like $53,000. In China, it's $11,000.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Most of these people who complain about America, and they say, I want to go, well, you tell me where's a better economic system. And most of them have never traveled abroad or seen the reality that probably half the world's in abject poverty, all right, by our standards. Huh?
That's right.
I would guess. There's a reason we continually use the expression third world countries, because they stay there. And all right, thank you. Thank you. All right, I want to thank you, David and Beth Ann, for stopping in. And Fred, you'll be back. Ray will be back. Chris, thank you for your contributions. We shall return momentarily with more of today's issues.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Missionaries are going into all the world to make disciples, and Exploring Missions is going with them.
Radio crosses those borders, so radio is not only not of the devil, it's a great tool to get to those unreached people groups.
Exploring Missions with Bert and Nathan Harper, Saturdays at 2:30 p.m. and Sundays at noon Central on American Family Radio.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty P. Houthi rebels in Yemen are now attacking Saudi cargo ships. Lauren Simonetti reports.
The Iran-backed Houthis announcing their blockade of Saudi ships in the Red Sea just on Monday. Hit 2 tankers there yesterday. Traffic is still flowing through that critical strait, the Bab el-Mandeb. It takes oil out of Saudi Arabia, but further disruptions could force a longer detour north through the Suez, around Africa, then to Asia, where much of this oil goes. This is a logistical nightmare. President Trump said this: the U.S. will hold Iran responsible and that the Houthis are a surrogate. He adds that major military punishment will be inflicted.
House Judiciary Committee Chairman and Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio issuing a criminal referral for former Special Counsel Jack Smith, accusing him of making false statements to Congress. The comments were related to the probe of the plot to overturn the 2020 election result and his subpoena of the records of phone and texts of Congress members.
You can't mislead in any way, and he definitely misled us because he said he didn't get contents when, in fact, they did for 44 members of the United States Congress.
A grand jury in Alabama is recommending one town disband its police department due to its history of corruption, as it charges 2 top officers with crimes.
The city of Pritchard, Alabama, outside Mobile, has seen both its police chief and a major charged for using department money and vehicles for private work. It's been going on so long, a grand jury is now suggesting the police department be shut down. Mobile County, Alabama Sheriff Paul Birch.
It's not been a secret that Pritchard's had problems for a long time, and this has been a long time coming.
Pritchard's police chief Walter Knight insists he is innocent of the charges. Multiple officers are said to be under investigation in connection with this scandal. Eben Brown, Fox News.
Republicans and Democrats ramping up campaign and messaging efforts ahead of the 2026 midterm elections as the balance of power within both houses of Congress is likely to change. RNC Chairman Joe Gruters says he believes the GOP is in prime position to do well in November and says the entire party is working to get the message out to voters.
We have $128 million, the most cash we've ever had in the Republican Party. We have the president, we have the vice president out there working hard every day. We're raising lots of money because we know what's at stake. We have no option other than to win in November. We have to win.
The American Federation of Teachers has seemingly become increasingly less interested in education. Caleb Castile tells us when AFT President Randy Weingarten went to address the union's national convention, she had a few topics to discuss.
She criticized Trump's handling of the war in Iran and announced a Democracy Defenders Election Protection Program meant to recruit 5,000 members to protect voters' rights, and that the union is committing, quote, to our most ambitious election program ever. These topics coincide with the Federation's Constitution. The Constitution calls for abolishing ICE and marching on Washington to remove President Trump from office and convict him of his crimes. Co-founder of Moms for Liberty, Tina Descovich, questioned why the AFT was concerned about these non-related issues when only 1/3 of American fourth graders can read.
The National Teachers Unions have been a distraction from its core mission for decades. You know, their mission isn't necessarily to help students read, unfortunately. It's their working conditions, but they don't even focus on that anymore. And so they are now focusing on global policies and every political attack that they can come up with for conservatives.
She also pointed out that 99% of the organization's political funds go to Democrats. Descovich says that it's the actions of teachers' unions that cause fear in the parents of America, saying that they don't send their kids to school to learn about immigration or foreign policy.
Most moms just send their children to school to learn to read and write and do art and learn about, you know, the good, the beautiful, and the true. And they are not seeing a reflection of that from the teachers' unions, which has millions of members.
I'm Caleb Castile.
And Brent crude oil jumped above $100 per barrel for the first time since May. Sharp drops for Alphabet and Tesla, meanwhile, are helping to drag Wall Street lower. More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues on American Family Radio. Tim, Fred, Ray, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl is in studio. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, real quick, Fred, I wanted to ask you, I had to leave the room. So you and Dr. Rankin there were talking airplanes, right?
Yes, he mentioned he's a pilot, yeah.
Private pilot.
Yeah, he has a single-engine aircraft, and Lycoming engine, and said it took about an hour and 20 minutes to get from home over to here to Tupelo. So, sounds good. Nice little airplane.
Yeah, that's an hour and 20 and doesn't have to go through Dallas.
That's right.
Just go out to the airport, right?
Just
fly over a bunch of cotton fields and the Mississippi River, and boom, you're here.
Nice.
Well, you said he was a professor at Vanderbilt? Is he coming from
No,
Vanderbilt?
his daughter.
She graduated.
Oh, okay.
Yes, from Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. But yeah. he is a retired professor at Southern Arkansas University, which is in Magnolia, Arkansas, which he says is not too far from Texarkana.
Yes. Yes.
Is that what he said?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not far away at all.
So, okay. I'm not going up in a single-engine plane.
Oh.
Well, it's not the going up, it's the big deal. It's the coming back down, right?
True. I've told this story many times before, but I'll tell it again because as you get older, you don't care that you've told the story because nobody tells you you've told the story before. I remember I used to go to my wife's granddad when he was, this is 30, 40 years ago. I'd go over to his house about 3 times a year because they lived about 2 hours away.
Okay.
And he'd tell me the same jokes. It's the same jokes every time. He'd forget that he had told me.
He really liked those
jokes. It's like
jokes.
J.J. Jasper.
Or Or he just liked the jokes, and he just
Well,
he
maybe
did it
so.
right.
But you know,
It's
I would
it's
laugh.
a granddad's privilege.
Well, I laughed every time. I never told him, "Hey, you told me that last time." You remember? Huh? I
right.
couldn't do an old man like that, right?
No, that's
So
right.
I just went along with. But they were funny now. But
Yeah.
after you heard them 3 times,
Sure.
okay. So anyway, I was in Louisville, Kentucky. This is about, gosh, this would be 30 years ago or more. I don't know. The decades pass and you lose track. But I had to speak at a church. And then I had speak at one church in the morning. Then I had to cross the river to go to, seemed like it was New Albany, Indiana, which is across the river, for another church at night. This is on a Sunday. So Sunday morning I spoke at one place. Sunday evening I spoke at another. So the gentleman who was in the first service came up to me. He wasn't my host, but he was a fella in the church. He said, "Hey, what are you doing this afternoon?" I said, "Well, I don't have any plans." He said, "Well, I'm a private pilot, and it's a beautiful day for flying around. I could take you all around the area up the Ohio River, and we could all, if you'd like to." And I said, "Well, with all due respect, sir, I don't go up in a plane with one pilot with one engine." And he'd sort of laughed and chuckled. He said, "Well, okay, I understand." He said, I said, "So, I'll be fine going back to the hotel." So he said, "It's funny you should say that." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, I'm a pilot for UPS."
Oh, wow.
Okay. So that's where UPS is based out of.
Yeah.
Louisville.
Louisville, yeah.
So he said, "I'm a pilot for UPS. In addition to being a private plane, I fly jets." He said, "It's funny you should say that about not wanting to go up with one pilot and one engine." He said, "'Cause one night my buddy and I were flying back from Anchorage to Los Angeles,
Okay.
Alaska to L.A. And he said, I had a kidney stone attack
Wow.
and was incapacitated."
Mm-hmm.
And now I can't remember whether he told me there were 3 on board or 2 pilots. May have been 3. I'm sure there was
Would depend on the type of aircraft.
maybe a navigator and then two pilots. I don't know. But I just remember him saying he had a kidney stone attack, and I'm going like, well, what if you got another kidney stone attack this afternoon? Huh? So anyway, but you don't think about those things. But pilots are human too, and
that's right.
That's why they are careful about what they eat and drink, before they get on the jet and everything like that. And
absolutely. Yeah, that has happened. The one good thing about the single engine, the small ones, the Cessna 172s and the Piper Cherokees, is that, if they have engine problems, that
you can set them down on a highway if you need to. Or
put them down in a cornfield.
Yeah, you can if you need to.
You'll survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when you get into the heavier stuff, they don't land well in cornfields.
No, not 747s.
No.
Well, J.J. Jasper's a private pilot.
Yes, and he
did exactly what you're talking about. He rumor was he ran out of gas. I'm not going to deny or confirm that, and I don't know that. That was the rumor that he and his
That's
partner.
one thing you're supposed to check before you take off.
Well,
that's right.
But they safely landed on Highway 45.
Yes.
Because I went out to see him at the airport, at the little rural airport after he landed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I was supposed to tell that or not. I don't know.
That's okay.
It may not be. It's probably.
Did he have to take off from Highway 45 too?
No, they towed it in.
Oh.
No, he landed on the highway with a small plane.
Yes.
And I retract that. I don't know if he ran out of gas or if it's engine failure. I don't know.
He didn't have a good day.
But anyway,
we say.
Fact is, the motor wouldn't run anymore, and he had to put the plane down in the middle of. Fortunately, it was a 4-lane.
Yeah.
You couldn't land on a 2-lane, really.
You
you could, but it'd be risky because you could have a car coming both ways.
Well, the other thing you have to watch for in that situation is wires.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be.
I forgot about that. Yeah, wires and bridges.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You can usually see the bridges.
Yeah. Is Mike Huckabee going to be on, or is he going to stand us up? You working with his people? Because, we've advertised and promoted he's going to be on.
Am I
I'm talking to Brent Creeley, our producer. You're on.
No, I'm on.
You're
Okay.
on. You're on, Steve.
All right.
Steve, go ahead. If Mike Huckabee joins us, we'll cut you off, Steve.
Yeah, no problem at all. Let's talk about this AI test. There was OpenAI was testing how good its newest AI model was at hacking. And so they test in what they call a sandbox. This is basically a computer environment that has absolutely, and we're stopped.
We got him. Okay,
Hey,
hold that
I'm
thought.
holding that thought.
Okay, we'll get back to that story. So, Governor, it's Ambassador now. Ambassador Mike Huckabee is in Israel, and he joins us now. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. To me, it's good evening, but
yeah.
It's great to talk to you. It's been a while.
Good morning, from Central Time USA. Tim and Fred here, and Steve and Ray. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, pleasure to be with you. And I thought you guys were calling me. That's why I'm a few minutes late. I was waiting on the phone to ring, and I finally decided maybe I should call them and make sure I'm supposed to be on.
Well, we appreciate you making time for us again, as you do so often here on American Family Radio. We just wanted to get an update from you. What's going on in Israel as it relates to, us here in the U.S. and our friendship and everything. We read things and hear things that sometimes you go, what? Well, man, we've never heard this about Israel from Americans, and now we're seeing a test of our friendship. It seems like.
There is a strong support for the U.S. in Israel, and I want to believe, and I'm certainly prayerful, that there's still a strong support for Israel within the U.S. I cannot tell you how important this partnership is. And yet there are a lot of Americans who think, well, what Israel is concerned about makes no difference to Americans, that Iran has nothing to do with America. Tim, that couldn't be further from the truth. And people who say something like that clearly are uninformed, are incredibly naive. The fact is, for 47-plus years, the Iranians have been saying death to America. This has been their agenda from day one. Their proxies, particularly Hezbollah, are in 12 Western Hemisphere countries. These are people who have one goal, and that's the annihilation of America. And if Americans think that what the Iranians are up to means nothing to them, they are badly mistaken. So I wish that there were more facts that were coming out to the American people, and they recognize that they've been sold a bill of goods from some of the Middle Eastern billionaires who spend untold amounts of money trying to convince people to hate the Jews and to hate the land of Israel. But for those of us who are Bible believers, this is not a geopolitical issue. This transcends that, and it truly does become an issue of recognizing that God chose the Jewish people, he chose the land, he gave the purpose, and my Christian faith is built on the foundation of the Jewish faith. Western civilization is built on a Judeo-Christian foundation, and America wouldn't exist if it weren't for the biblical foundation upon which we are built.
Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, Ambassador Huckabee, Fred here. The mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, made a lot of news in the last week or so, threatening first he was going to arrest Prime Minister Netanyahu when the Prime Minister comes to New York in September for a meeting at the United Nations. Now, he found out he doesn't have the legal right, but he's still out there, even as far as late as yesterday, talking about that Prime Minister Netanyahu should be arrested. Some have applauded him, but what a shock to have the mayor of New York City suggesting that Prime Minister Netanyahu should be arrested based on what the International Criminal Court has said.
Well, it's absurd on several fronts. You're right to point out that he has no legal authority to arrest anybody, and he certainly doesn't have the legal right to arrest a diplomat because he has diplomatic immunity if he comes to the UN. So this is nonsense on the part of Mamdani. He ought to be focusing on fixing potholes, picking up the trash, keeping the parks clean and the needles from drug users free and off the streets. But instead, he's injecting himself into something about which he is utterly ignorant. When he says Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, on what does he base that? Benjamin Netanyahu is the elected leader of a country that very much mirrors the United States in terms of complete wall-to-wall freedom. And if he's talking about Gaza and he takes the ridiculous, stupid, and utterly lack of facts into play and says, oh, they're guilty of genocide, the population of Gaza has actually grown by 4% every year since Israel started going after to get their hostages back. Israel didn't start the war in Gaza. Hamas did by murdering 1,200 innocent civilians and taking captive 250 people, including 16 Americans. If Americans had the similar kind of assault on us in one day, if you looked at the scale of population, it would be the equivalent of 40,000 Americans being murdered in a single day and 10,000 people being taken hostage, raped, starved, beaten, and abused. And I wonder, what would Americans demand? What would Americans do if we had 40,000 people slaughtered, including pregnant women, butchered in front of their children, elderly people burned alive in their wheelchairs, babies beheaded and their bodies put in ovens? If we'd had that in one day, I wonder if America's response would be to just gently write maybe a strongly worded letter and say, please give our 10,000 hostages back. We all know the answer to that question. The Israelis prosecuted the war against Hamas for the sole purpose of getting their hostages back. But Hamas wouldn't let them go. This war should never have taken that long. But it did because Israel was doing their very best to try to prevent civilian casualties. But at the same time, they were relentless in seeking to get their hostages back.
Ambassador Steve Jordahl here. Anti-Semitism and outright hatred of Israel and Jews has become a litmus test for the rising tide in the Democrat Party. Leadership there seems unwilling or unable to resist. Are there things you can build into the political infrastructure right now to safeguard or make permanent or at least resist if things go spectacularly badly for Republicans in 2028?
I think it's going to require several things, not the least of which is a very full-throated recitation of the Scripture. I'm really concerned that a lot of pulpits have gone cool with cowardice. There needs to be biblical truth poured out of pulpits across America. If there are kids growing up in evangelical churches that are supposed to be Bible-believing, Bible-preaching churches, and these kids have no understanding of their innate relationship with their Jewish heritage and with God's plan for Israel, then I'm wondering, who's their pastor? Why is he not speaking the truth? Is he afraid that he's going to be considered political by doing so? My goodness, I hope not. But the second thing, we've got to start speaking out on every platform, including social media, because the influence from the billions of dollars flowing in from places like Qatar are influencing young minds, and they're getting their news off of TikTok and X and Facebook and Instagram. And most of the time, they're getting information that is just about as wrong-headed as Mayor Mondami out of New York is.
We're talking to Governor Mike Huckabee, who's now Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Mike, do you have 5 more minutes with us?
Well, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Okay, well, all you can do is say no, so I ask. If you got to have some hummus, you go right ahead. Doesn't matter to us.
There you go.
Okay. Ray Pritchard, do you have a question for Ambassador Huckabee?
Ambassador, one of the great questions here in the U.S. has to do with the ongoing war, conflict with Iran, the bombing that's resumed. What is the Israeli view at this point of the ongoing conflict with Iran? What are the prospects, in your view, for some kind of lasting peace?
Well, I think the president's pretty blunt about it, and he would like to see it. He's working toward it. But he's made it very clear that he does not think that the Iranians are serious about bringing together any type of relinquishing their ambitions for nuclear material, enriched uranium, and opening up the Strait of Hormuz. If they are willing to make those changes in their worldview, the president would love to see something happen that would avoid yet another conflict, a kinetic war. But there's no indication so far that they have come to their senses. We have a saying down south, I know you've all heard it, that there is no education in the second kick of a mule. And I think here is a great example in which Iran has had a real clear kick of the mule before, and they don't seem to be learning anything from it. And it may take yet another kick from the mule for them to finally get the message that they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, that was a good one. It's been a long time since I heard that one. All right, well, listen, Mike, we want to thank you for your time. We ask people to pray for you. I know you covet the prayers of people as you go about your duties there in Israel. By the way, President Trump in his first term moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, right?
He did, and it's been a very significant decision, and I'm proud of him for doing it because that's where it belongs. Jerusalem is the only capital the Jewish people have ever had, and it's the only city that has ever been a capital of one people, and that's the Jewish people. So this makes sense, and I'm proud to be serving this president, this administration, and I do ask people to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right, Mike, thanks so much. Take care. See you later.
Thank you, Tim.
All right,
God
bye-bye.
bless.
Bye-bye.
That's Governor Mike Huckabee. All right. When somebody's a governor, you can call them that the rest of their life, right?
Yeah, he's earned
I
that
keep
title.
saying that, but that's all I've ever known until he became ambassador, right?
Yeah, the real question is somebody repeat, what was that line about the second kick from a mule? I don't think I've ever heard that.
There's no education in the second kick of a mule.
How do you say that in Hebrew? Would be my question, or Arabic for that matter. You know, this idea of genocide, we've talked about this before because this is what Benjamin Netanyahu gets accused of, and the Israelis in terms of their attacks inside Gaza, and it's like he said, he extrapolated. Mike Huckabee did. What if? How many Americans did he say?
What if 40,000 Americans were killed in one day?
In one day and butchered like animals.
Yes, basically. And 10,000 were taken hostage.
And 10,000. What he was doing was he was saying that is the percentage of of what happened to Israel, because Israel is only 10 million people.
Yes.
So he was saying if this happened in America, what happened on October 7th?
October 7th, 2023.
That year, if that happened to Americans, what do you think would be our response?
Yes.
And it would not be a polite letter, I would hope, as he posited.
Here's the thing. What got me was the people that are who hate Israel. They were saying, okay, if this happened to America, do you think this is me talking now? What gives the enemy of Israel the right to set the terms in terms of the response of Israel to the people who killed, slaughtered, and butchered those 1,100 Israelis on that day?
Yes.
So this is not genocide. Is ethnic cleansing. Genocide is taking people out just because of their religion, for example. Although I'm not sure genocide even fits into that definition. But I do know this. If Israel were committing genocide, 20% against the Arabs, they would be killing all the Arabs that live in Israel, which is about 20% of the population.
That's right.
The Arabs have places in the Knesset, which is basically like our Congress. The Arabs live in Israel. They live in Nazareth. When we go to Israel on our tours, oftentimes we use Israeli Arab Christians for our guides or for our bus drivers or whatever the case may be. So I know these people are being threatened. So it's not genocide. They like to use that word, the haters of Israel because it invokes passion among people to say, what? They're committing genocide. Israel is. We got to stop that. You see what it does? Go ahead.
I was reading, preparing for this interview, I was reading in the Jerusalem Post, I believe it was, that the anti-Semitic voices, even within Israel, think that word isn't strong enough. They hate the Jews so much that they are now proposing a whole new word, which they're calling holicide, because genocide just isn't
what does that
strong
mean?
enough. They make it up. The point being that genocide to them isn't even strong enough.
Israel's not committing genocide.
No.
Israel is Israel. Does Israel's missiles and rockets and sometimes gunfire kill non-combatants inside Gaza, women and children included? Sadly, unfortunately, that does happen. That does happen.
And that's on Hamas.
The reason it does happen, I've mentioned before, imagine your enemy is hiding behind, imagine the enemy is hiding amongst the general population.
In schools.
They're not wearing uniforms going, hey, here we're to fight.
Yeah.
And they're making tunnels below hospitals and schools and mosques.
Yes.
So that if Israel attacks them, Israel gets a bad PR because, look, Israel bombed a school.
Yeah.
You see how this works?
Yep.
So, I'm not Israel right or wrong. I'm not America right or wrong. Okay, we can make mistakes. They can make mistakes. But Israel is not intent on wiping out everybody in Gaza, or they could have done it by now.
Absolutely.
All right?
Yes.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow with the Trivia Friday. Thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
Thanks to Fred, to Brent Creeley, to Ray, Cole, our video man, and all the other guests who were on with us today. We thank them. We'll see you tomorrow.